Welcome to Self-Care Tips. I am Irene Joroge, and today we're going to look at one of the things that really can be disconcerting, and that is car trouble. How do you identify car trouble? First and foremost, it helps to have some car smarts. This will help you avoid being taken advantage of by those roadside mechanics who just emerge suddenly from the bush as soon as your car breaks down. One of the things you need to be sure of is to check your car, knowing how to check your car. If it won't start, know some of the things that prevent a car from starting. It could be as simple as a starter that is stuck. Have a look at what is called the Bendex and move it and adjust it. This will actually help your car to start. Has your car failed to start completely? This means that the battery might be flat. Your only hope is to link up with another car battery to charge it. Once it is charged, keep moving or revving for at least half an hour. Otherwise, it will stop once more. Another reason for a failed start is starter trouble. This is identified by the coughing sound produced. Check your spark plugs to make sure that they are wired up for action. Otherwise, the tops can dislocate. If the car has been outdoors in the rain, the starters might be wet. Dry them and then try starting your car again. Changing a puncture does not have to be as difficult as it sounds. All you have to do is ensure that you have a jack and a spare wheel in good order. Using the special wheel spanner in the boot, loosen the nuts by turning them anti-clockwise. Look along the body of the car between the two wheels for a hole where you can insert the jack. Slot the jack into it, ensuring the base is firm on the ground. Then turn the jack handle up an inch or so that when the wheel spins, it spins quite freely. At this stage, take the nuts off and then remove the wheel. Ease the spare tire into the empty space. Finger tighten the nuts back into place and then gradually unwind the jack to lower the car. This has been Self-Care Tips on how to spare yourself from car trouble. I am Irene Joroge.
Want the things, baby, give me that good loving. Yeah. A woman like you, of all the girls around the world, she means the most to me. Caribbean girl.
Boresha maisha na bima. Kuwa na mipango mbadala ya sintofahamu za maisha. Gharama za ghafla za matibabu zinaweza kutatiza udhabiti wako wa kifedha. Bima ya matibabu hukupa utulivu wa akili. Wazawidi wapendao hakikisho la maisha mazuri na bima ya gharama zao za matibabu. Pata bima ili kuhakikisha yote yatakuwa sawa.
Good evening and thank you for tuning in to KBC Channel 1 Prime Edition begins right now. And we got a comprehensive news bulletin lined up ahead for you at a time when the country is in a quest to reduce greenhouse emissions by 32%. Our reporter Ruth Wamboy was on assignment in Tana River County and has come back with a special feature that we will be bringing your way in the course of this particular broadcast. But on matters politics?
Absolutely. Negotiated democracy. You've seen it in Nairobi and other areas. And of course, we'll be telling you about some disgruntled aspirants in Nairobi. But most importantly, the aspect of negotiated democracy. Can it be entrenched in Kenyan politics in future as a way of, avoiding divisive nominations? But then we'll also talk about leadership in the northeastern region and the politics there, and we'll be engaging Noor Ali from Mandera. Be sure to catch up with that conversation. Obviously, once we are done with telling people what has been happening across the country.
Indeed, once again, welcome back.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Now, let's begin with our top stories tonight.
Azimio la Umoja flag bearer Raila Odinga begins a 4-day tour of the coast, pledging to focus on poverty alleviation and job creation.
Deputy President William Ruto exhorts anti-corruption agencies to uproot the vice in the public service.
Slain Olympic medalist Agnes Tirop's alleged husband denied bail as murder trial begins.
All right, once again, thank you so much for creating time for us. Our sign language interpreter tonight is Lensa Odingo. My name is Serfine Achieng Oma.
And my name is John Jacob Kioria. Welcome to the broadcast now. Devolution and Empowerment Party, DEP, popularly known as BAS, has reaffirmed the commitment to the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya Coalition Party.
DEP Chairman Lenny Kivuti is urging the party supporters to dismiss rumors that the party led by Meru Governor Kiraitu Murungi was heading to Kenya Kwanza Alliance.
This comes as a section of candidates in Machakos County called on the leadership of Azimio la Umoja One Kenya Coalition Party to abandon plans of zoning.
The Azimio la Umoja One Kenya political brigade, led by its presidential candidate Raila Odinga, began a 4-day tour of the coastal region Wednesday to popularize the coalition ahead of the general election. Among the promises to residents of Tana River County, Raila pledged to address the perennial floods as well as focus on poverty eradication.
Tunataka kufanya mambo ya irrigation hapa Tana River. Kuna eneo mingi hapa ambayo mvua ikinyesha kule juu inakuja mnakuwa na mafuriko mingi sana hapa. Tunajenga bwawa hapo. Kazile mbio maji inakuja tunavuna. Manake maji inakuja hapa namna hii inaingia kwa mto inaenda baharini. Lakini bahari haina haja na maji. Bahari iko na maji ya kutosha.
Raila also promising that if elected president, he will ensure that the youth from the coastal region benefit from job opportunities in the blue economy sector.
Tunaomba inshallah Mungu akukujalia ukipata hii hatamu utambue vijana wa Tana River hawana ajira na ajira iko chini. Your Excellency, kuna kazi port ya Lamu, tuko majirani na hii port ya Lamu, lakini hawa vijana hawapati ajira hii port ya Lamu.
Tunajua sera kamili vile tunataka kufanya. Hii Tana River iko na rasilimali mingi zaidi. Hapa mko na mali iko mifugo mingi zaidi ambayo tunapeleka mahali tunawesha zinakuwa kubwa alafu tunapeleka kwa bahari kwa kule bandari ya Lamu na kwenda kupeleka kule Arabuni tunapata pesa mingi zaidi.
Meanwhile, the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya Alliance running mate selection panel has pushed the unveiling of its report on the 3 shortlisted candidates for the consideration for the number 2 slot to Thursday. The committee cited the absence of the Azimio presidential candidate Raila Odinga for its decision. The selection team was expected to submit the top 3 candidates to Azimio presidential candidate Raila Odinga and President Uhuru Kenyatta, who were to make the final decision.
Apologies for the introduction of that story. That story is from Mombasa, where the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya Alliance presidential nominee Raila Odinga has pledged to focus on poverty eradication and job creation for the youth if elected president in the August 9th general election.
Raila, who is on a 4-day tour of the coastal region, says young people make the bulk of the Kenyan population and should be assisted to make meaningful contribution to the nation's development.
Well, let's move this forward and listen to what Kenya Kwanza is saying. Deputy President William Ruto has challenged requisite government institutions to seal loopholes of corruption in the public service.
The Vice President, who spoke during a meeting convened by the Evangelical Alliance of Kenya National Convention, said if elected, his administration will make the office of the Inspector General fully independent.
He said this will ensure his government is held to account over any procurement issues. The Evangelical Alliance of Kenya was meeting Deputy President William Ruto in a series of meetings that will see them meet presidential hopefuls to lay out their agenda for the country and the church. Ruto warning that the procurement of arms used by the security forces should not be clouded with secrecy, as it created avenues for mega corruption.
Why is buying a gun by the government? Why is it in mystery? Why is it in some dark room? Why? The guns are being carried all over in the streets by policemen. So what is the big deal? Today, they are classified as security purchases. So a gun that is supposed to be sold for 20,000 is bought at 60,000. Why? Oh, it's a security thing, so it cannot be done by open tender. It must be done in some dark room. It must be.
Ruto promised to fund the Office of Inspector General once elected to office, with a view of ensuring it is fully independent so that the occupier of the office is fully accountable.
The Constitution says the IG is an independent office. Today, the IG doesn't have a budget. He relies on the Office of the President for a budget.
Ruto called on the church to support him as he had demonstrated courage by going against the grain and national conversations whenever he felt they were wrong.
And in a democracy, you speak your truth, but when the majority have made a decision, as a Democrat from where I sit, just like in an election, you go to an election, of course with the intention of winning, but sometimes you don't win.
On resolving the education crisis in Northeastern, the Deputy President promised to equip locals to take up teaching courses in institutions of higher learning so as to increase the number of local teachers.
Very few teachers, very few people in northern Kenya go for training as teachers. And the question I ask them, why do you make the teaching of your children the business of other people?
Ruto has also promised free lunch for all learners in primary schools once elected to office.
All right, away from matters politics, President Uhuru Kenyatta today officially opened MAS Intimate Kenya, a Sri Lankan apparel and textile manufacturer that has employed over 3,000 Kenyans.
Speaking at Athi River in Machakos County during the launch of a factory operating under the Export Processing Zones EPZ program, President Kenyatta said the huge investment is a testament of the decade-long groundwork laid under the manufacturing pillar of the Big Four agenda.
President Uhuru Kenyatta says while MAS Intimate Kenya only began operations in Kenya in the year 2020, it has already injected over $8.5 million into the Kenyan economy, employed over 3,000 Kenyans and shipped garments worth over $24 million, which are affixed with the magical Made in Kenya tag.
It is a good example of how we can partner to undertake high-value manufacturing, adopt advanced technologies, as well as create direct employment opportunities for thousands of Kenyans.
The president pointed out that the expanding infrastructure, world-class human capital, and economic policies have significantly improved Kenya's business index within the community of nations, making the country the most vibrant investment destination in Africa.
We aim to continue to expand incentives that will attract leading companies to our shores, and I do believe that our partnership with MAS Intimates is a good indicator that as a country, we are on the right path.
Industrialization and Enterprise Development Cabinet Secretary Betty Maina said the country has more than 122 billion Kenyan shillings worth of investment in EPZs.
Our exports last year stood at more than 91 billion shillings, and the employment in these zones is about 65,000 people.
Meanwhile, President Uhuru Kenyatta on Wednesday inaugurated 3 state-of-art health facilities at the Kenyatta National Hospital in Nairobi, built and equipped at a cost of 1 billion Kenyan shillings.
With this facility in operation, our patients are no longer at risk of infections that could otherwise have interfered with preferred clinical outcomes.
The facilities that include the Zarina Merali Surgical Daycare Center, the Center for Kidney Diseases and Organ Transplantation, and the Histocompatibility and Immunogenetics Laboratory were developed using a mix of government funds and donations from the development partners and philanthropists led by Zarina Merali Foundation. Speaking during the event, President Kenyatta noted that the inauguration of the facilities demonstrates the vast improvements in the country's healthcare system achieved during his tenure of office.
That as a result of the hospitals that we have built in various estates across Nairobi, the number of walk-ins who used to congest Kenyatta National Hospital has come down from almost about 500 every day to 100.
So far, the president said Kenyatta National Hospital has already performed over 200 kidney transplants under the Interlife program, adding that the new facility will further cement the referral hospital's standing as a regional center of excellence in the management of kidney diseases in East Africa. Zainab Said for Prime Edition.
Now to the corridors of justice. The High Court has issued temporary orders stopping the implementation of a directive that political parties should comply with the 2/3 gender rule in nominating their candidates as directed by the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission. Lawyer Adrian Kamotho moved to court challenging the directive issued on 27th of April 2022. He argued that inherently incompatible with the gazetted election calendar published on 20th January 2022, since political parties have already concluded nominations in compliance with the law and in conformity with the election and nomination rules. Now, Kamotho argues that the said directive is discriminatory and prejudicial since it is unfairly targeting political parties while leaving out the independent candidates who stand an equal chance of winning the elective positions. The court has further directed submissions and responses be served within 3 days. The case will be mentioned on the 18th of this month. Now, the Kenya Conference of Catholic Bishops says it is seeking to reclaim the voice of the church in shaping national agenda, especially now that the country is heading towards an election. Speaking during a breakfast meeting with the Kenya Editors Guild in Nairobi, Nyeri Catholic Archbishop Anthony Muheria said the church has a critical role to play in shaping the country and its leadership if given the platform to do so.
Concerns have in the recent years been raised on the church silence in nation's state of affairs. But as the country gears towards the August 9 polls, a section of the church says it is keen to reclaim its place in national matters.
The church must raise its head and voice to speak the truth so that we don't go down the drain.
We want to remain the moral compass of the country to political leaders and to citizens. We want peaceful elections, peaceful Kenya, harmony.
Kenya Conference of Catholic Bishops, led by Archbishop Anthony Muheria, said the role religious actors can play in fostering cohesion and countering electoral and political violence during the electioneering period cannot be underestimated.
Kenyan politician today needs and is crying to be liberated from himself or herself, because he is caught up in the prison of untruth, even when he is seeking leadership.
During a breakfast meeting between the Kenya Editors Guild and the Kenya Conference of Catholic Bishops held in Nairobi, religious bodies were urged to be proactive in providing civic education to the masses.
Civic education to the head that speaks about ideas and that speaks about why I have to vote, and explains that even if I don't have a preferred candidate, I still have to vote, because I must, in my voting, I vote out the worst case scenario.
Watu wakiona kwamba uchaguzi haijafanya vizuri, haikufuatwa njia ya haki, ndio inaleta shida sana. So naomba sana hata wale ambao wanasimamia uchaguzi wahakikishe kwamba mwaka huu tutakuwa na uchaguzi ambaye kila mtu ataridhika.
During the meeting, the media was challenged to work closely with the church in disseminating factual information.
A big majority of our people don't have ways of distinguishing that which is factual and that which is not. And I think we must then stand up and be counted as the soldiers of truth.
We are here to support you and to ask kindly that at least you give us a little bit more of this conversation and space.
Ben Chumba, Prime Edition.
Time for us to take a breather on Prime Edition. But of course, when you come back, with more news lined up for you.
Yeah, great conversation lined up ahead as well.
Absolutely. On negotiated democracy, very important. And we've seen, parties depart from nominations to go the direction of consensus, even though there's trouble.
Yeah, there's trouble. That conversation coming your way shortly. Do stay with us. We are taking a break now.
Our arts and entertainment industry has evolved over the years.
It is at such times that our destinies are written. Will we rise up in courage or die in cowardice?
Who are the movers and shakers in film and theatre? Get trendy as we review locally produced films and stage drama every Wednesday at 9 p.m. on Cinemas and Theatre.
Brought to you by the Kenya Film Commission. Film Kenya, Capture Africa. Do you have a news story to share with KBC? Get in touch swiftly on email news@kbc.co.ke or call 0723-892-654 or 0734-780-124.
You too, you lied to me, Jaime. You also lied to me. You were supposed to help me make sure they stayed apart, to keep my brother away from the Burats.
I'm not stupid, Lionel. I'm not stupid. So what is your real motive?
And if my mom is an accomplice of Paulina, would you want to talk about that?
I've no right to stop her, Gonzalo. Because the one who could be wrong here is you.
No, I have no doubt. I have no doubt. That will be a disastrous marriage, I'm telling you.
Well, I don't think that way. Let go of me.
close the border. And we have no apology as far as that is concerned. You will recall, yes, sir, that when a very large number of refugees were coming from Somalia, because of the drought there, we did agree to receive them in fulfillment of our international obligation. We did, of course, warn the international community that while Kenya was willing to take these people, there were inherent risks over the fact that not everybody crossing from Somalia coming as a refugee is a bona fide refugee.
Welcome back. You're watching Prime Edition. Now, a section of MPs allied to Deputy President William Ruto now want Parliament to initiate the process of recruiting the Secretary to the Cabinet to chair the Assumption of Office of the President Committee. Garissa Township MP Aden Duale has petitioned the House Speaker to direct the Justice and Legal Affairs Committee to move with speed and fill the vacancy so as to avert a constitutional crisis. Our parliamentary reporter, Ishoke Washira, has the details.
With 89 days to the general elections, the Kenya Kwanza Alliance is raising an alarm that the country may find itself in a constitutional quagmire during the transition. Garissa Township MP Aden Duale says the absence of a secretary to the cabinet may leave the Assumption of Office of the President Committee badly exposed.
Honorable Speaker, as it is presently, there is no person holding the office of the Secretary to the Cabinet in terms of Article 154 of the Constitution. Honorable Speaker, as you are aware, a person nominated to the position of the Secretary to the Cabinet must be approved by this House in accordance with Article 154 of the Constitution, and considering that this House is set to proceed to Synodi in less than 4 weeks. If this is not done, Mr. Speaker, the assumption process for the President-elect for this year's general election may be jeopardized.
The committee, which according to the law should facilitate the handing over process by the outgoing President to the President-elect, should be chaired by the Secretary to the Cabinet. MPs allied to the Kenya Kwanza Alliance raising concerns in the National Assembly over failure by the executive to appoint the Secretary to the Cabinet.
Failure to having these steps put in place, Mr. Speaker, I wish to request you as the leader of the legislature that you give consent for this House to legislate as a matter of urgency and priority with a view to addressing the possibility of a lacuna in the leadership of the said committee, and further request your consent to have the bill expedited and considered in as fast as possible.
According to the Assumption of Office of President Act, the chairperson of the committee is supposed to convene the first meeting of the committee at least 30 days before the date of the general elections. The crucial committee is also responsible for organizing security and swearing in of the President-elect. Gishoke Washira, Prime Edition.
All right, now moving this forward, the effects of climate change have badly impacted crop farming and livestock keeping, consequently interfering with livelihoods. One community group in Tana River County is taking the bull by the horns as it increases vegetation in an effort to mitigate the effects of climate change. Our reporter Ruth Wamboi was on assignment in Tana River County and filed the following report depicting how communities are employing creativity to help the country attain its quest of cutting greenhouse gas emissions by 32% as envisaged by President Uhuru Kenyatta during the Climate Ambition Summit in 2020. Here is part one of that report.
The 35,000 kilometer square Tana River County is home to the famous Tana Delta.
According to the National Bureau of Statistics 2019, Tana River County falls among the 5 least populous counties in Kenya with less than 500,000 people. But it's one of the leading counties in addressing climate change. At Mikameni village, you meet these community group members, led by Area Chief Martha Wilfred, on a sensitization exercise as they uproot the invasive mathenge species.
Tuungana kwa pamoja, tung'oe visiki na kupanda miti ya kisasa, ambayo miti hii mingine itakuwa ni ya matunda, mingine itakuwa inatusaidia kushika kava ya ardhi, ili kuwa mvua ikinyesha itakuwa haisababishi mmomonyoko wa udongo.
But where did this dangerous mathenge tree originate from?
Huu mti ulikuja late 80s na DC ambaye alikuwa anaitwa Mathenge. Alichukua hizo mbegu akazileta Tana River. Na sababu ni kuwa area ya Hola, Bura, kulikuwa hakuna dalili yoyote ya miti. Ilikuwa ni kama jangwa. Madhara yake kwanza, huo ukikudunga huna bahati. Kama una ugonjwa wa sukari utakufa. Na madhara yake mengine, ukikudunga hata kama huna sukari utakuumiza, either ukate mguu au ukate pale mahali ambapo umekudunga.
Mathenge is among the 2 common invasive species in Tana River that have affected the county, making farming unsuccessful. The other one is mkoma.
Kwa ajili ya hii mimea midogo midogo huwa inasumbua. Ndio ubaya wake. Sasa afadhali umalizwe kabisa huu mmea mathenge.
Unakata hiyo mathenge, unakusanya hiyo miti kwa shina. Na ukimaliza unachoma. Na ukichoma ukimaliza unachukua mavyambuzi, unakusanya hapo kwa shina. Ukimaliza unachukua kala moto, unaika hapo kwa shina. Ule moto ukishika, ile mavyambuzi yakishika, yanachomeka paka kwa ule mizizi. Ile mizizi ikiungua, baada ya kuingia ndani, huwa haiwezi kumea tena. Nimetengeneza eka 3 na familia yangu na nikapanda.
Climate change poses serious threats to Kenya's sustainable development goals, as Kenya's economy is largely dependent on rainfall, agriculture and tourism. The impacts results in socio-economic losses estimated at 3 to 4% of gross domestic product annually. Apart from tree planting, they are also practicing fodder production for their livestock.
As climate change impacts continue being felt in most parts of the country and globally, Mikameni residents are uprooting these mathenge trees as they await for rains.
According to Kenya's Forest Service officer in charge of Tana River County, Simon Guyo, empowering community forest associations and charcoal producers association to take care of Mother Nature have helped to reduce the effects of deforestation, as each member acts as a gatekeeper.
They are empowered to remove mathenges from their farms, and in return they are given some allowances, which makes them, at least those families which are very, very poor, they can sustain their living.
Clearing and reseeding indigenous trees using coated seed balls via drone technology has become a game changer in regreening the region that have suffered deforestation.
We are reseeding these farms after they have cleared the invasive tree species. We are reseeding the farms with the indigenous trees, which will help the community in the near future. So we are using drones basically to reach all those areas, including forested areas, to see where exactly we need to do this restoration, because you'll find that restoring or dispersing these seeds by hand, you cannot disperse these seeds by hand effectively to those forested areas, but the drones make it easier to disperse these seeds because they do the work at an aerial view.
And as Kenya strives to achieve Vision 2030, so begs the question, what is our individual contribution towards strategic action like afforestation, renewable energy sources use, as well as climate-smart agriculture? And as a quick action towards reforestation, residents here are employing the new drone technology to achieve the 10% forest cover. Reporting for Prime Edition from Mikameni Village, Tana River County, I'm Ruth Wamboi.
Methinks that drone technology, quite interesting.
Yeah. That's the way to go, to reach out those places that are hard to reach by road. Yeah. Great reporting there by Ruth Wamboi, Nipping the Bud. Part 2 will be airing tomorrow right here on KBC Channel 1. Be sure to catch that tomorrow.
All right, it's time for us to take another breather. We'll come back with more news lined up for you, including that conversation with Nur Ali. He's a governor aspirant in Mandera. We'll talk about negotiated democracy as well as the politics of Northeastern. Don't go too far.
Boresha maisha na bima. Maisha hayatabiriki, huenda kukawa na panda shuka. Iwapo utashindwa kulipia bima yako malipo ya kila mwezi, usiwe na wasiwasi. Zungumza na kampuni inayokupa huduma za bima ili ubadilishe bima yako kuwa bima iliyolipiwa tayari. Hutahitajika kuendelea kulipa malipo ya kila mwezi, japo kampuni inayokupa huduma za bima bado itawajibika kukulipa faida unayostahili katika chaguo hili. Pata bima ili kuhakikisha yote yatakuwa sawa.
You want a title shot? Well, come get it. Hey, Contra!
Welcome back. Through film and drama, artists are able to explore various themes and influence the way people look at different issues affecting their lives. Tonight, in our weekly segment, Cinemas and Theatre, Jacqueline Masharia reviews the film Kiapo that focuses on internal and external conflicts of a young couple in love.
Cinemas and Theatre. Brought to you by the Kenya Film Commission. Film Kenya, Capture Africa.
Maimuna Yusuf.
Kiapo follows the life of Maimuna, a young woman in love, but in fear of losing her lover Suleimani, a coconut vendor in Mombasa.
Maimuna, urembo wote huo, ole wanamza madafu.
They long to be together, but Maimuna's father Yusufu and her aunt Leila want a better life for her, which they doubt Suleimani is capable of providing. In Sami, a businessman, they see Maimuna's hope. Despite the disapproval from the family, Maimuna's love for Suleimani continues to blossom. The lovebirds take an oath to love till death do them part.
Audition for this film Kiapo, and basically there are 20% experienced actors and 80% they are newcomers to the acting industry. But my experience was good, although sometimes we were pushing them very hard, especially for Maimuna, who had a lot of scenes, and we were shooting for every day consecutively for a week.
Directed by Amos Mwaki, the film Kiapo has bagged various awards and was nominated for the Kalasha International Film Festivals 2021. At the same time, Kiapo is selected for the Global Indie Film Festivals 2022.
It was different from the other projects we've been doing, simply because we stretched our limits, especially in the effects. We made special effects, and our efforts paid off because actually we were able to be nominated for the best special effects in Kalasha Film and TV Festival in 2021.
What triggered the idea and the need to explore this theme?
What triggered the idea is the observation that people nowadays don't care. They don't care what they say. They don't care what they say to their partners. When circumstances change, they are willing to jump the ship and they are willing to fall in love with someone else apart from the people they have been with, the person they have been with, the person they have made commitment to. The industry is growing and definitely would be where we would like to be. What I can say is that we are growing the numbers to watch local content. Mofu we will achieve is growing the local viewers for our content.
Jacqueline Masharia for Cinemas and Theatre.
Cinemas and Theatre. Brought to you by the Kenya Film Commission. Film Kenya, Capture Africa.
Time now for us to focus on the business news. Now, the private sector is calling on the government to consider reviewing taxes after 2 years, as opposed to the annual increment, to help them plan better their operations and reduce price fluctuations. The manufacturers say frequent price changes have been imports out compete Kenyan products in the local market. This emerged during a stakeholders forum on the Finance Bill 2022.
The manufacturing sector was in 2021 one of the key economic drivers, registering a 15.9% growth. However, the private sector says the proposal by the National Treasury to introduce a 10% excess duty on raw materials could push some businesses out of operations due to the high cost of production. Private businesses believe the policy environment in Kenya remains unpredictable for investors to make long-term decisions. They are calling on the government to consider reversing taxes after a longer period to enable them adequately plan for their operations and pricing.
Putting a lot of pressure to the businesses that operate these companies. They don't know how to do pricing in a more organized manner.
Balance always, because the revenue must be generated for the country. At the same time, we must have an environment that promotes growth in business. So these are the factors that are before us, and these are what we must consider.
They argue that the increase in taxes is making Kenyan products uncompetitive when compared to imports both locally and in the international market.
Factories that manufacture paint are now losing businesses to other players in other countries, Tanzania, East African Community, COMESA. We are losing jobs and businesses and competitiveness and income to other countries.
Take 1 liter of beer. The tax on a 1 liter bottle of beer, 1 liter of beer in Kenya is 100 shillings. The tax on 1 liter of beer in Tanzania is 29 shillings. The tax on a 1 liter of beer in Uganda is 24 shillings. Kenya is 3 times more expensive.
The Kenya Private Sector Alliance is also calling for a review of a proposal to have businesses appealing tax decisions be required to deposit 50% of the total disputed amount at the central bank, noting that the move will deny businesses the much-needed working capital. Benson Rioba reporting for Prime Edition.
Now, on to the upcoming AfriCities Summit. Thousands of security agents will be deployed to secure delegates attending the upcoming AfriCities Summit. The meeting that brings together close to 10,000 delegates is expected to put to test the city's infrastructure, security and planning arrangements. Nyanza Regional Commissioner Magu Mutindika said no efforts will be spared to secure delegates attending the meeting from around the world. The meeting will take place from the 17th to the 21st of May this year. Wycliffe Okech shares more insights on the summit.
It is all systems go here in Kisumu City. Buildings have been spruced up while roads have been recarpeted and marked afresh. Flower beds are teeming with blooming flowers, while traffic in Kenya's third largest city has been reorganized ahead of AfriCities Summit. Due to the high number of international and local guests expected to flock to the city, security has been enhanced. Nyanza Regional Commissioner Magu Mutindika says an operation order has been designed to ensure the safety of the over 8,000 delegates and at least 6 heads of states expected at the summit, which will be conducted in a hybrid system.
We have got a very, very precise operation order on those areas where the guests will be staying. And we want to assure the delegates that their security is guaranteed on a 24-hour basis.
The delegates who are coming in will only have to go through a test, the normal, usual COVID test. The reason I'm saying this is because when we started the registration for this, a lot of people in Africa found that they didn't have the facilities to be double vaccinated. And so they were reluctant to register for this. But yes, because of that, we are going to have a hybrid conference where some people are going to be able to participate from the comfort of their homes or their offices, wherever they are in Africa.
Due to the limited bed capacity in Kisumu, which has about 3,000 beds, most guests will be bused to the neighboring counties of Siaya, Vihiga and Kakamega.
All those areas that we have mentioned, they will be covered, and we want to assure our delegates that they will get maximum security.
Kisumu County government leadership is urging locals to take advantage of the meeting to create business linkages and forge economic partnerships with the delegates.
We're soon going to run out of space, so we think that by end of tomorrow there'll be no more space for international exhibitors as well as local exhibitors. So please get onto the website www.africities.org. Click on the space for exhibition, book, you pay directly online to secure your space.
We want to encourage them to ensure that they liaise with the trade department, especially at the city of Kisumu, so that they book and participate in the bazaar that we are going to have at Jaramogi Oginga Odinga Sports Ground that will be running concurrently with this summit.
It is a race against time here at the Jomo Kenyatta International Stadium in Kisumu, where the 9th edition of the AfriCities Summit will be hosted. And now the Summit Secretariat is calling upon local businesses to take advantage of the opportunity and register their businesses before time elapses. Wycliffe Okech, Prime Edition from Kisumu County.
All right, thank you, Wycliffe Okech, for that report. Now, a number of institutions are trying out the use of drones to deliver medicines and vaccines to save lives through timely delivery of the much-needed medical supplies to remote or inaccessible areas. ICT Principal Secretary Dr. Jerome Achieng says that drones can provide much-needed solutions in a variety of applications to improve customer experience, increase productivity, and mitigate the effects of climate change.
Kenya is looking at emerging technologies like drones to respond to the needs of the people, create jobs and improve livelihoods. Commercial use of unmanned aircraft systems, commonly known as drones, has been steadily rising across the filming industry, surveillance, mapping, sports and news gathering. This is despite a lack of policy guidelines which the government is working on.
Closely with the industry players to make sure that we put in place the necessary legal frameworks that will support the continuous and even the advancement of drone technology in Kenya.
Even though the Kenya Civil Aviation has been overseeing the licensing of drones, privacy and safety remains a key concern, especially from security agencies.
As you talk about drones, the key thing that comes to your mind is issues relating to safety. So those are some of the things that needs to be actually taken into consideration, and also data.
A lot of effort has gone into structuring the country's ecosystem to ensure we have the necessary legislative and regulatory framework.
Despite this, a number of organizations are using drones commercially for filming, security, as well as delivery of small parcels such as medicine and vaccines to remote and inaccessible areas.
We can demonstrate to Kenya Civil Aviation Authority and the government that we can actually use drones to transport, or rather to deliver medicine and vaccines to areas which have poor infrastructure.
They say drones have proven efficient and more cost-effective in leapfrogging the physical connectivity gap in Kenya. So far, more than 350 unmanned aircraft systems have been licensed to operate. Caroline Njenga for Prime Edition.
That's all we had for you on the business news. Karen Kibet is coming up shortly with the latest from the world of sports. Do stay for that.
Some people dream of success, while Good Morning Kenya is here to make that happen. Start your day with authentic updates that can make or break your day. Make sure you know before you go. Join Jane Wamboi, Doreen Okello, Regina Manyara, and Victor Olo to share every morning with you. It doesn't matter where you are. You can always access Good Morning Kenya from different devices. Good Morning Kenya. Every Monday to Thursday from 6:30 to 10 a.m. on KBC Channel 1.
Sasa niwaulize, mnataka barua muikule ama muifanyie nini? Someone please shut up. Who are you? Enga. So now you don't know who I am.
No, Enga.
Umewahi jua hata mama yetu anakulanga nini?
Please don't remind me of my,
How can you do this? And you
wazana na yeye.
Na Makoa naye alifanya nini?
Hii mkoa ikashomwa. Imeenda kwa nyumbani imeshomwa afanga.
Makoa alishikwa na hasira. Ndio. Kwa nini unasema mambo ya kusema mimi tuliwafukuza na panga?
Lakini sio alifukuza, wewe alihatarisha maisha ya watu.
Tukanipa ni kisi cha dada.
Wewe nyamaza. Hapa ni kotini.
Welcome back. Let's now shift focus to motorsports. My name is Karen Kibet. Now, Kenya added another silver medal to her medal tally at the ongoing 24th edition of the Deaf Olympics in Brazil with a glittering performance by Sharon Jepterus Betok, who finished second in the women's 1500 meters. The gold went to Anastasia of Ukraine.
Sharon Bitok finished second in the women 1500 meters final to add another silver medal to Kenya's medal tally at the ongoing Deaf Olympics in Brazil. The 24-year-old went head-to-head with Anastasia Sidorenko of Ukraine, but settled for the silver in a time of 4 minutes 49.98 seconds. Sidorenko took gold in 4 minutes 49.31 seconds, as Mio Okada of Japan won bronze in 4 minutes 52.78 seconds. Last year, Jepta Rus took part in the 1500 and 800 meter events at the World Deaf Championships in Poland, finishing 4th and 6th respectively.
Okay, so I was trying to encourage her. We had planned to encourage one another, but during the competition, I saw that I wasn't feeling very well and I felt that I needed to go faster. Because in Poland, we tried the same thing and I became 4th. So I thought this time round I need to try and think about myself. Yeah.
Another Kenyan, Alice Atieno Odhiambo, missed the women's javelin bronze medal by a whisker, finishing 4th in the final, while in the women's long jump, Anzazi Chaka Nyundo finished 6th in the final.
We are really very happy and we thank God for everything, and especially today because there was change in weather. It has rained. In the morning it was cool and it was not very bad, but this afternoon you see when our 1500 meters women was starting, it rained and it was a very big challenge.
Meanwhile, Kenya national women deaf basketball team lost 79-34 to Italy in the quarterfinals of the games in Brazil. Previously at the group stage, Kenya lost 97-28 to Turkey, 101-20 to USA, and 114-31 to Lithuania. Nevertheless, the national team progressed to the quarterfinals, since only 8 teams were competing in the women's category.
We need to play more games, more pressure games, not just any games, but we need to play against teams that will give us pressure, will give us a run for our money anytime we have a game, and we'll be able to correct on that.
Today we have had a match, we've played with Italy. I can say that we have had a problem to do with communication, especially the defense. When they were pressing us, we really needed that spirit, but we did not communicate well.
Kenya will play 2 more ranking matches in the competition.
Thank you, Barkley, for that report. 8 swimmers have been selected to represent the country at this year's Commonwealth Games, to be held from the 28th of July to 8th of August in Birmingham, United Kingdom. The 8 swimmers were selected after the long course National Swimming Championships that were staged at the Kasarani Stadium from the 6th to the 8th of May. The 8, 4 ladies and 4 men, include Emily Muteti, Imara Bella Thope, Maria Rebecca Kamau, Ridwan Mohamed, Maina Monyo, Swale Talib and Tori Pragasa. The Kenyan Swimming Federation hopes to send the 8 selected swimmers to Birmingham, but the number may be reduced depending on Kenya's allocation for the Games. Moving on, Kenyan boxer Christine Ongare lost on points to Hannah Okota of Ukraine in their flyweight category bout, bowing out of the ongoing 12th edition of the IBA Women's World Boxing Championships in Istanbul, Turkey. The Commonwealth Games flyweight bronze medalist was eliminated a day after another Kenyan, Lorna Kusa, lost to Valentine of Kazakhstan in the lightweight division. The championship, which ends on 20th May, sees a record of 310 athletes representing 73 national federations battle for top honors in 12 weight categories. And that's all we had for you right here at the KBC Sports Desk. I'll see you tomorrow on Easy Friday with more sports news. But the broadcast is not yet over, as Jacob Kioria has an amazing interview lined up for you, which will be coming right after this break at Extra Mile.
All right, thank you very much, Karen, and obviously tomorrow is not Friday, tomorrow is Thursday. But let's get to a conversation tonight and talk about negotiated democracy and politics in Northeastern. And I'm joined by Nur Ali, who is the governor candidate for UDA in Mandera. Thank you very much, sir, for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you, Jacob.
Yes.
Asante.
Let's talk about negotiated democracy, particularly from the Northeastern region, because it's a practice you've seen over the years. First of all, before you were declared a UDA candidate in Mandera, did you go through negotiated democracy?
Thank you very much, Jacob. As you said, my name's Nur Ali Aden, UDA candidate, Governor Mandera County. Negotiated democracy started in Mandera, in the entire of northern Kenya.
Okay.
It started 2013, where 20 Council of Elders, members of community were set, and they negotiated that every clan to benefit from the devolved government, from the governor to the MCA. And every clan, 2013, no clan was left behind. The elders were very organized. It was a very brilliant idea. It was negotiated. 2013, by then we were in URP. We swept everything, and every community was represented. We pushed to 2017. Those who got chances through negotiated democracy refused to release the power, because the elders now said, you have taken your turn. Let us now change that group of 2013, since they are in office for 5 years. They were told now to change their position, to leave, so that new team will come in. And you know, in Africa, you take power and keep it.
You don't have to relinquish it.
You cannot relinquish it. So they refused from the governor.
And they won?
Definitely. Why? Because there is a small resource around them, and unfortunately the council of elders, they don't have resource of their own. So those who brought them on power were kicked out, who are the council of elders, and the sitting got against second term because of the resource they garnered from the county government.
Yeah.
Yes.
So let's talk about now. Was there any negotiated democracy at arriving at candidates who would fly different flags?
No.
Okay.
Because the Council of Elders were disbanded, not by anybody but by time. Because in politics, the ladder you used to climb to the roof, by the time we reach at the peak, you hit it and you look for ladder the other side. So those were forgotten. Now they are forming now. The so-called people now on power, they are now forming their own group. Those people who will dance to the tune, unlike the older group who brought them to power 2013.
Comparing 2013, 17 and now, that you're a candidate, when elders used to decide who flies or who becomes governor, compared to that time and now, would you say then there was a semblance of order as compared to now?
There is no order.
Okay.
Now it is survival for the fittest. Actually, that is why we could not go through the elders, because nobody trusts the elders. So we are doing where everybody now is looking for his own elders, per se. Maybe sub-clan elders to look for power. But there is no organized system that was there 2013. So when we talk of 2013, it was very organized. We came 2017, some slim Council of Elders were there, but they were defeated by those who are in the power to be. And then now 2022, everything is out of order. So now it is you to fight for your space, depending on how you handle the politics.
All right. Tell me very quickly, because you're running for governor in that very county, and of course you allude about the incumbent Governor Ali Roba. What gaps have you identified in that county that you think ought to be fixed? And first of all, I have insecurity in my mind because that's the biggest problem in Mandera.
Very good, Jacob. There is a lot of gaps. There is a lot of things that has not been done. We used to cry as northeastern people that we are marginalized by Moi government, Kenyatta government. But we got resource. 2010 Constitution gave us good resource. Now we are marginalizing ourselves. We couldn't cry for water at this time. We couldn't cry for insecurity at this time because we have resource around us. For example, our youth are very idle because because of insecurity, our youth, most of them, they don't make to universities. So we have TVET colleges that we are not using. So that is why even youth from these northeastern people are being radicalized because of lack of them not being engaged. We talk of maybe through my leader, my party leader, every sub-county in this country, TVET college are fixed. If you equip those colleges and you give these children, these maybe school leavers, maybe they get D+, D-, C-, and then you train them in the field of artisan, mason, tailoring, mechanics, these people will not be going and looking for guns. Because they're idle. The few who make it to university, they look for white-collar job. They say they're going to do what we call courses like international relations. We have no business with international relations.
Why?
This is one person. The whole county, I mean, out of 100%, maybe 10% will make to university. The 90% are there without job. So if you utilize them and you give them basic, knowledge, I'm sure they will you can tap their energy because they're very energetic. They can be able to move around and improve the economy of that county.
That is as regards to education. I'm rushing you a bit because time is also up. But the aspect of water, you're talking about education and marry it with addressing insecurity in Mandera. How about the problem of water?
Actually, that is the main thing. Last maybe 5 months ago, for the last 3 years we have no rain. Water is there. We don't harvest for those people. We don't harvest. Imagine the cartel are using water boozers to get the contract while wananchis are suffering. Our animals, 3/4 of our animals died because of drought. If you harvest the water that you have, you must put aside some fund to make sure that during the drought you can take care of these animals and these people. But here is misplaced priority. You do water tankering where you can be able, without fear. You are using water tankering so that the cartels can get jobs and can get contract at the expense of mothers and animals dying because of drought. So we feel that water can be tapped. Right now, River Dawa is running for the next 9 months. But nobody taps that water. It's wasted. Yes.
All right. Unfortunately, we've run out of time, and I'm sure we're going to engage you again, so you can tell us more, about your bid for Madeira. Most importantly, what you think are the biggest issues that are affecting the county and what you would want to fix as governor. Once again, Nur Ali running for governor on a UDA ticket. Of course, talking about negotiated democracy and the politics of Northeastern, but most importantly, Madeira. But unfortunately, we have to wind up, Serfine. Today is Bob Marley's birthday. You knew that?
Indeed, and it is falling on a day when we are having the rave coming up next. So what a way to celebrate Bob Marley. Do stay for that and much more coming up. Great conversation you had there. Thank you so much for watching Prime Edition tonight. My name is Serfine Achieng Oma. Our sign language interpreter has been Lensa Odingo. Have a good night.
Fantastic.
beast on a leash, because if you don't, he'll get snatched by some young thing.
If life is so good, why are you still single? Who would want a woman like you?
As anything about us is over. Get over it, move on.
Shouldn't have said that.